What's up, you guys? Steven back again with Magic Bet on Money. Love it or hate it, the reserve list, it's here to stay. But what if it's here to grow? Huh? Just think about it for a second. You know, everyone, they all want to fight about the watch list or the reserve list, say, hey, is the reserve list really necessary? Is it a good thing? Can we get rid of it? Can we bring back all these old cards so we can play Legacy again, so I can actually use a Gaia's Cradle in my fun Commander Elf deck and not have to use a proxy? People don't like the reserve list, right? Go on the internet for 2 seconds, Google reserve list, right? First of all, you need to understand what it is, right? Simply back in the 90s, early 2000s, when was it? 20 years ago, whatever. Wizards said, hey, everyone, sorry that all this inventory you have has gone to zero because we reprinted everything a lot. We're going to go ahead and pump the brakes on reprinting stuff, and eventually it became the reserve list. It used to move around, but we all know the reserve list. Nothing's changed from it for decades, and it is what it is, right? They're a promise to not reprint cards. Now, a lot of people don't like it because it drives the price of cards up. Obviously, the flip side is, hey, when you're buying our product, you should know that the collectability, right, not the price. Wizards can't acknowledge the price, but they can say the collectability is going to stay exclusive, right? No more new supply on the market, no more new versions. So that's the idea of the reserve list. A lot of people don't like it because it makes cards expensive, right? I mean, Legacy as a format, it's dead, never coming back, and it can't because the lands are too expensive, and you can't play without the lands, without duels. You just can't do it, and so Legacy can't really be played unless you're willing to spend thousands of dollars just on your mana base, and then you have to buy all the spells after that. So it's just not going to happen. Hey, if you're liking this video so far, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Appreciate it. It means the world to me. Today's conversation is not about whether or not the reserve list is going to stay or go. It doesn't matter. Right? It is what it is. I don't think it's going anywhere, but even if it does, it's here. But what if they decide to add to the reserve list? What would happen? All right. First of all, we all know the first reaction, anger. Pitchforks, torches, burn down WOTC, let's go to Seattle, let's go and attack them. Everyone would be super mad. There's no question. They'd say, hey, why would you do this? No one likes the reserve list, and now not only are you not getting rid of it, you're going to add more cards to it. A lot of anger. Okay, we'll move past that. We'll give them 6 months, let everyone cool down, and get used to the idea. First of all, I think they would have to add cards. There'd be some pretty strict rules, right? And we're saying, hey, they go to the reserve list and they're there forever. They're not coming off. It's not a 5-year pause. It's saying, hey, we're never going to print these cards ever again. We're putting them in the vault and saying, hey, they're going back. These cards are iconic. They're an iconic piece of Magic. And for those who, it's not like we're saying, hey, good luck, everyone. If you've been around for Magic in the first year, we want to support you. No, it's, hey, Magic's been around for 25, coming on 30 years now. So there are certain cards that we're just going to say, they've been printed enough, we're never going to print them again, so that way the price, the collectability, right? Wizards can't acknowledge a secondary market or a real price, otherwise they'd have gambling issues, and that's the whole reason why the reserve list will probably never go anywhere anyway. But anyway, the collectability will stay the same, will be exclusive now. First of all, lands can't go on them, right? So if they decide to do this, I think they would have to do no lands. Imagine if fetch lands were on the reserve list. How fuming would everybody be, right? Everyone would hate that. Not to mention, then Wizards can't keep on reprinting enemy fetch lands in exclusive, expensive items. Of course, never in a standard box ever since Cons and even Fate Reforged. Imagine how far the pendulum has swung to say, hey, we're going to reprint them in not 1 but 2 sets. And then the other ones? No, sorry, we're never printing those ones again, except for in really exclusive, expensive sets. Regardless, lands, you can't put them on the reserve list. That's just a no-go. They're too crucial to the playability of the game. Can't do it. The other thing is that they could only do a few cards a year, like 5, maybe 4, like once a quarter, right? Every release, they release a set and then they, I guess say, hey everyone, come check out the new set. And by the way, you can't play, we're no longer ever going to print Birds of Paradise ever again or whatever. Okay, so the PR might have, we already know PR is going to be a nightmare with this if they were to ever do this, but what would it do for the consumers? Obviously, it would give you some feeling of assurance to say that, my collection can't completely go to zero, as long as the game stays around and people care about Magic and everything. That is why we would want to do this, but they have to add cards really rarely, like really selectively. Iconic cards that are really, really great, and I'd say cards that have already been printed at least twice, if not 3 times or more. Like those are the types of rules that, in order to make this a realistic experience, you'd have to do cards that had already been reprinted. Like Snapcaster Mage, right? It's been printed a few times. There was the GP promo, one of the Ultimate Masters, and then obviously, the original Innistrad, and then I think there was another printing as well, right? Has it been in 2 master sets? I can't remember, but that's the type of idea we're saying, hey, it's already been printed and reprinted, and now we're just going to put it on the reserve list, and we're moving forward. Honestly, one of the appeals of older formats, non-rotating formats, is to say, hey, I get to keep playing with these cards, but that's not really true. Look at Modern. All the cards that are played in Modern were printed in the last 2 or 3 years, right? So that's not really the most true statement. Dark Confidant, right? Dark Confidant, Bob, been reprinted multiple times, right? Modern Masters, then Double Masters, right? Yeah. Plus the new, the new art in Double Masters. So, there's 3 different arts. It's been printed a bunch. Well, why is the price so low? I think I bought mine back in the day for $50 or something, $40 right after it got reprinted. I even waited for it to get reprinted for the price to go down. Well, maybe because Ren and 6 got printed, right? The power level is always changing, and not just the power level like general power creep, but as we know, the wheel turns, right? The meta wheel turns, and so Dark Confidant just isn't played because, 1, there's like a better alternative, and 2, that better alternative just kills Dark Confidant for free, right? Playing anything X1 in Modern is difficult. So that we already know that even if you don't reprint cards, the prices can already go down. But to know that, hey, this card won't get reprinted a 4th time gives you a little bit of confidence to buy your Dark Confidants, right? People probably won't like it. I don't think they'd ever do it. It'd be interesting to see if they did. I just think, if they said, hey, we're just going to throw a few cards on there, none of them will be lands. We're going to do it for cards that are just an iconic piece of Magic history. They're really cool. They're unique aspects of the game. They've been printed a bunch. They've been printed to oblivion already, so don't freak out. If they did this, obviously, the first time they ever did it, not only would people be mad, but then prices would just skyrocket and speculation would skyrocket, man. If they said they were going to do this, and maybe the first announcement was, hey, we're going to do it, every iconic playable card, people would just go and buy out. Frenzy buy, prices spike. Everyone who's holding an inventory laughs as they just, they're going to do their same thing, right? They're just going to sell it all, buy it all again over the next 2 years over time as people, get over it and they don't care about it anymore, and it's a card they didn't really want but they speculated thought would be put on the reserve list. That would happen. And then obviously if they actually said, hey, not only are we announcing this, but here is a list of the initial cards, those first 4 cards they put on there in that first announcement to say, hey, we're starting off with 4 cards, we're going to do 4 cards a year, nothing major. Oh my goodness, can you imagine the prices of those? And you got someone who just barely bought theirs who's like, oh sweet, wow, I just barely bought these, and glad I did, because now the price is skyrocketed. Meanwhile, you got someone on the other hand who's just like, hey, I think I want to get some more Snapcasters. I'm going to get some more Snapcasters. I'm going to wait till my next paycheck. And then between now and the next paycheck, all of a sudden that announcement comes out, and Snapcaster's on the reserve list, and they're just like, oh no, what happened? Did I just lose? Now I got to pay triple, quadruple. Who knows, right? The price would go way up. It did rebound and come back down, but that could take some time, or maybe it wouldn't. It depends on who's involved, So do I think they'll do this? No. I think the negative backlash would be too strong. Also, they don't even want to talk about the reserve list. The people already want it to go away so badly, and because it likely never will, it's better off just not talking about it. Why kick the hornet's nest? Why do that? Why stir the hornet's nest? They're not going to talk about it. They're not going to bring it up. And that's one of the biggest reasons alone that they probably will never add to the reserve list, is to say, hey, we don't even want to talk about it. Everyone look over here. Forget the reserve list exists. Move on, ignore it. Look at this new shiny new toy. Look at this new jeweled lotus, right? So I don't think they'll do it. It could be bad if they did. PR would be a nightmare. Prices would go crazy. But that also, thing is, that brings press, right? The whole idea of any press is good press, right? To play devil's advocate and say, what if they did this? Well, now Forbes is going to write an article and more people talk about Magic and more people get invested in Magic and the game can grow. That's one thing you got to remember is any press is good press, right? In the world of Magic, yeah, it would be bad. But in the general world, there would be so many people now hearing more about Magic, getting involved, more new players coming on board, different players, different types of players. I mean, growing the game is always good. Growth is good for anything, right? It's good for any game. It's good for any company. Growth is good. So maybe they decide, hey, any press is good press, and we're going to do this. We're going to stir the pot. It's going to go wild. Could be crazy. I don't think they'll do it, but you never know. Appreciate you tuning in. Like and subscribe.